Hey, and a good evening. Meteorologist Chris Smith here in the Panhandle Weather Studios in Inlet Beach. Dan Nyman over in Panama City, where he is still staying warmer, basking in the warmth of temperatures today, up near 60 degrees.
Things were feeling a whole lot better outside today, in the sun at least. In the shade, you probably still felt a little cool, but the house made it back up to about 70 degrees today.
Why?
Open up the windows did the job just fine. Like the window blinds, that is. Let the sunlight do it for you.
Oh my goodness. Well, what is the plan this weekend?
Wear more clothes. I think that's going to be the only thing that we can do here. I'm trying to save money.
It'll be you'll be like Ralphie's brother in Christmas Story.
It's only 2 days. We'll be just fine.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was all in all a decent day today, and we get one more decent day tomorrow, and then the other shoe drops. But the one thing, today is the anniversary of the ice storm. And that was the biggest winter event, since I had been here, up until, of course, last year. But we were so close to actually seeing snow, and that was like, I was like, we're never going to see it now if we got an ice storm. We were just missing one ingredient, little tongue of warm air above us, and we ended up with ice. And I went together and cobbled a few pictures that I had of the trees coated. This was the trash can outside of my house, and this was the Lake Powell Bridge, and you see all the cars parked there on the side of the bridge because they weren't letting anyone across. Now, the funny thing is that morning at 8 o'clock, I went across the bridge. I can't even remember why. I had to drive across it for something. Came back, and then when it came time to kind of like head to work, it was completely frozen and closed. And so I ended up having to walk, me and a lot of other people too, to the other side of the bridge, and I was able to borrow a friend's car and come into work because the surface streets were fine because they were above freezing, but the bridges definitely were not. But those are my memories of that day. And you know, the interesting thing is, like, by that evening, everything was completely fine. You know, it's tough to stay below freezing very long here in Florida.
We're going to find a way to do it on Saturday. At least the feels like temperatures will, as we're going to spend a little bit of time here talking about temperatures, you know, getting a little nicer for Friday. Tomorrow morning, I don't think most of us will get below freezing or even really get close to it down towards the beaches. The afternoons into the 60s. And then, you know, Saturday really is going to be just a stay indoors sort of day. Temperatures are going to feel like the 20s to low 30s, no matter what time you go outside, even 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, and that's going to be the story this weekend. You know, you know, we don't have good climate records, but like I think this is going to be about as cold as it's been since 2010-ish, maybe 2014. I mean, like I know like the record for this, like the 31st is was from 2014, and it was like in the 20s for sure, like upper mid 20s, I think. So you know, we're going to be way colder than that, even down to the beaches. This weekend. So I think this might be the coldest since 2010.
It's ridiculous. But again, fortunately short-lived, and we'll stop dwelling on that. Plenty to talk about before then, including great views in the sky today, Chris. I saw like 1,000 viewer pictures come in the last hour.
That's why we were running a little bit late, because I was like, oh, another one. Let me throw that in. Ooh, another one. And so I wanted to get as many in as I possibly could. We started off this morning, temperatures. Obviously, it was cold down into the 20s across our area, and then above freezing right along the immediate coastline. But whether you were freezing or not, you still had frost. And I love this picture that came in from the Butlers over into Callaway, where you can see there the blades of grass with the frost on the blades, and just that cold start this morning across our area. Jenna French, Jenna Loves the Sky on Twitter, and she has sent in pictures or posted pictures for years, and her name showed up in the app today as far as sending in a picture, and I was thrilled to see her join us here at Panhandle Weather. She said she was super excited with what we're doing, and so it's always good because, you know, some people don't know what we've been up to, and then they stumble across us. And Miss Cheryl did that, or Miss Jenna did that. Now, Miss Cheryl was at the Apalachicola National Forest, and you can see, remember the other week we talked about hole punch clouds? And she was able to capture one of those over the Apalachicola National Forest. Had a lot of those alto cumulus clouds today across our area, and those are always spectacular and make for great pictures. You see Miss Amber up there into Mariana, and Deborah over into Panama City Beach. Krista, just a little while ago, you can see the daylight fading away there on the beach. Miss Jean over into Calhoun County at sunset this evening. And Linda Cherry over into South Walton there in Origins. You can see the beautiful sky overhead. And Kathy Morrison looking toward Fish Point from Panama City. But thank you, everyone, for sending in your pictures. And you can submit your own in the Panhandle Weather app. Just go down there, scroll down. Once you open it up, you'll see us talking at the top. You'll see the forecast, and go down a couple tiles, and you'll find submit photos right there within the app. Temperatures since midnight, some of us touching 60 degrees. Northwest Beaches did. Bluntstown, Weewa into the 60s, 50s. up across most of the rest of our area. But hey, you know, even though it was still below average, it felt fantastic. Just to see a little bit of that warmth of the sunlight, the daylight fading away and temperatures tumbling over into Destin, now down to 52 degrees. Notice the wind, southwest. Notice in Panama City, south-southwest. That's going to be critical because in particular near the coastline tonight, temperatures will stay well up into the 40s, I think. We're going to drop quickly at first, then level off and could see temperatures rise. Now, inland areas will still drop into the 30s, but especially near the coast, because of that onshore wind, it's not going to be anywhere near as cold tonight. And so we'll have to enjoy that as much as we can. And you can see the flag up there, yellow flags over at Pineapple Willie's. And again, that's blowing off the water. And so that brings in that kind of moisture and that warmer air across our region. And then over at Sharky's, you can still see a little bit of a breeze there blowing around some of the umbrellas. But a beautiful evening tonight, and it's good to see that daylight inching its way a little bit deeper into that night sky. Temperatures right now, 40s inland, 50s along the coastline. But again, the coastal temperatures will kind of level off here pretty quickly into the 40s. We continue to be warmer, but the problem is it was so cold that even though every day's warmer, it's still not average across our areas. We should be into the low to mid 60s, and we were mainly into the upper 50s to near 60. You can see there your winds that are mainly onshore, blowing anywhere from calm to 5 miles per hour across our region. And we'll see those winds tonight continue to blow out of the south. And again, that will be a warmer wind, and so we're not expecting as many freezing temperatures tonight. There's some folks over towards Bluntstown, I think, to get into the freezing temperatures. And we'll have those southerly winds briefly tomorrow morning, but then we'll see the winds turn out the north and west as we move over the course of the day on Friday. And by Friday evening, you see that right there? That's the leading edge of the windy weather. And the winds are going to be a huge story, and cold, cold weather is on the way. To talk a little bit more about those low temperatures tonight and that cold weather on the way, let's go to meteorologist Dan Nyman.
Yeah, the wind's helping us out at least for now, but obviously things are going to change pretty significantly as we work our way off into the weekend. Give me a press forward on the graphics there, Chris. I don't think I have connection here. The temperatures tonight, again, we continue to work our way towards warmer and warmer conditions over the course of the evening hours. We started off the week with 12, 13 hours below freezing. Tonight, almost all of the Panhandle won't get below freezing. I did see a couple of spots up towards southwest Georgia that caught close. So there's obviously a chance for a few low-lying areas with very calm winds to still get down to 32 degrees, some patchy frost across I-10, but we don't have to worry about any preparations, of course, for this evening with temperatures expected mid-30s inland, and we're back into the mid-40s in many coast locations. Of course, you don't have to go too far away from the coast to find the 30s, but it's an improvement considering we started off this week inside of the 20s. As you look back through the western Panhandle, you've got down to about 34, 35 degrees up towards Jay and Munson, but down across the beaches, Destin, Gulf Breeze, 47 degrees will be a welcome feel as you head out the door around sunrise tomorrow morning. Get through Bay County, South Walton, you're still inside of the 40s. Get up towards the airport, though, some upper 30s are still in the forecast. And then over towards Calhoun County, you get close to freezing along the Apalachicola River. 50 degrees, though, for St. George Island, Cape San Blas. The Gulf water temperatures doing some work there, but again, Apalachicola East Point still some 40s, and then of course 30s north of that. So here was the spot I was talking about. A few locations you see dotted around as you look towards Bluntstown or Hosford, up towards Quincy. Maybe 30 minutes to an hour right at freezing, but it's not going to be a significant impact, of course, compared to anything that we saw earlier this week. And then you don't have to drive too far to the west to find temperatures that are still 34, 35, 36, or even 37 degrees over towards Red Bay. So we're improving, of course, and as you look through the Futurecast modeling, it'll be short-lived. We do see a rain chance return to the forecast tomorrow. Now, of course, it wasn't until this afternoon before the wind shifted onshore, so we only have about 12, maybe 18 hours worth of time where the moisture increases across the Panhandle. So this looks like an increasingly moisture-starved setup for rain showers, and generally they get going right after sunrise, generally east of 331. I think if you took between 231 Over towards Tallahassee, that looks like a hot spot for the best chance of rain, but even there, not everybody will see rainfall. And if you do get it, it's not going to last very long. Less than 1/10 of an inch is the overall expectation for that. It's what's after the rain with the passing front when temperatures come plummeting down. We've shown this all week long as we got in towards the commercial break. It's the big dip in the jet stream and a significant temperature change. That jet, too, is going to spin up a pretty nasty low-pressure system over the Atlantic, although it looks like it might stay a little bit further off towards the west or the east. Maybe not be a huge nor'easter up towards the northeast, but for us, the winds that come off the western side of that will take all of the cold air we're expecting to see funnel in and make it feel much colder. Of course, we've been talking about that. The well-advertised cool down as far as temperatures go continues into the forecast for Saturday and Sunday morning. But Chris, you factor in a 10-15 mile per hour wind. I've seen some models still up around 20 miles per hour overnight. You could wake up Sunday morning with feels like temperatures of 4, 5, 6 degrees, and I think closer to 20 miles per hour. We could be talking about nearly 0-degree wind chills because the wind is going to make all the difference.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild how cold this is going to be. And it's not just the cold. We've been this cold before. Not often, but teens and 20s. But it's not often. Usually to get that cold, you need clear skies and calm winds. And we're going to have clear skies and blustery winds with those temperatures. And I think that's what kind of makes this an oddity, that we're going to have the wind chill be an issue, whereas normally it's kind of like you can't have a breath of wind to get temperatures this cold.
Yeah, a lot of work being done. Kind of a perfect setup for this with the low and then that real strong high over Texas and Oklahoma. So it's a rare event, although I don't know that anybody's going to be excited about rarities this time like they were a couple of weekends ago. We were talking about rare snow. This time it's just it's a cold that you say, get out of here. And fortunately, it will not last that long.
Yes, and we'll talk more about that and the cold weather in just a minute.
See it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
When it comes to building, local experience matters. At Mid-South Lumber, our team knows the job, and we'll help you get it right the first time. From weekend DIY projects to full custom builds, you'll get solid materials, fair prices, and service you won't find at a big box store. That's why we're the biggest little lumber yard in Panama City. Mid-South Lumber. Shop local. Build with confidence. Let's quote your next project today.
We're proud to bring you the most popular cars in the world, like the stylish Camry and the sporty Corolla. Get award-winning style and 2.99% APR on a new Camry, named Best New Model by Kelley Blue Book. Plus, you get 90 days until you make your first payment. Curb appeal comes standard on the new Corolla, designed to wow from the inside out. Get 2.99% APR plus 90 days until your first payment. Panama City Toyota, your Camry and Corolla headquarters.
Your piece of land demands the very best equipment. Kubota Equipment. The #1 selling compact tractor in the U.S. With professional grade mowers, versatile kick utility vehicles, and compact tractors that get it done right. All backed by unmatched dealer support. Talk to your dealer today to schedule a demo.
Now, from your trusted team of meteorologists at Panhandle Weather, this is your evening forecast update.
And meteorologist Chris Smith here in the Panhandle Weather studios. Meteorologist Dan Nyman over into Panama City. And both of us enjoying the relative warmth compared to what it's been with temperatures tonight. Holding on to the 40s and 50s, which is like summer heat. As of late.
Yeah, well, Everybody that's complaining, including us, is going to wear this in the summer. Be like, remember that time it was 30 degrees every day? I sure missed that.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, no. You're 100% right. We need to take some receipts. I'll get the kids.
Yeah.
The kids are good at that. I'll get them to do that.
That sounds like a plan. I'll start things off for us here tonight, Chris, as we look across the Panhandle. Of course, Destin's still busy with activity for us here. Folks still on that evening drive home. You see temperatures down inside of the 50s. Dew point temperatures have risen, though. That's the impact of what was a light, but still important, southwesterly wind. Your headlines, of course, it's about the brief warm-up that we're experiencing right now. And then, of course, all the discussion will be about cold weather, not just here in the Panhandle, the entire East Coast. And it's different brands and varieties of cold. For us, it is just raw, bitter, blustery cold. And then as you get up towards the East Coast, you'll be talking about snowfall there, at least in spots. As get through tomorrow, a couple of showers, back into the 60s. Saturday, temperatures basically all day long in the 30s, maybe briefly touching 40. The coldest air of the season arrives by Sunday morning. Let's set the stage, though, for tonight, tomorrow's rain chance. Obviously, as you get through the next several hours, temperatures don't cool a whole lot more because of that onshore wind. We get down into the 30s in a few spots. The beaches stay in the 40s, and they'll bottom out around 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning hours. Winds tomorrow, though, quickly go from that light onshore wind to more of an northwesterly wind. And it starts off light at first, but by the end of the day, it'll be a whole lot more windy, and that continues to ramp up all the way through the following 24 hours. So by tomorrow night, you've got a 10 to 15 mile per hour northwesterly wind, and then as you get in towards Saturday morning, 15 to 20 mile per hour winds. There's certainly a possibility we see some 25 mile per hour sustained winds during the day, and gusts out over the open waters of the Gulf could get well in excess of 40 miles per hour. Gale watch is out there for the water, so if you're thinking about getting in the boat and going snow chasing at any point this weekend towards Tampa, real rough conditions, not going to be the best of ideas. But here's the important thing, and I was asked a question about this last night, Chris, about why the winds would linger Saturday night into Sunday. It's of course that low pressure system, but the impact that has is normally, you see a 10 to 15 mile per hour wind during the day like this, and it would become a 3 to 8 mile per hour wind overnight. But in this case, for Saturday night into Sunday, we kind of stay in that 10 to 15 to 20 mile per hour ballpark for pretty much all of the Panhandle. So temperatures like tomorrow morning are going to be a welcome sight by the time we get to Sunday morning. Quick recap: tomorrow morning into the 30s inland, 40s though across the coastline. As we get through the final school day of the week, we're still bundled up for the kids, but you won't spend as much time down in the 30s. In fact, by the time school lets out, you're likely in the 60s with partly sunny skies out across the Panhandle. High temperatures back inside of the 60s pretty much area-wide. I did see some spots towards Wakulla County today into the 60s, so for them it's a second day in the 60s, but everybody could spend a little more time there too if you did briefly touch 60 degrees for today. For Mardi Gras on Friday, you've got temperatures pretty comfortable through the evening hours. Start off near 60, finish out towards low 50s. So pretty good considering the forecast for Mardi Gras on Saturday. By Saturday morning, temperatures are down once again to about freezing for many inland spots, and with that northwesterly wind, we will be able to move some of the cold air closer towards the Gulf water, so there won't be as much of a temperature contrast across the area. It's 28, 29, 30 degrees across I-10, and then 32 to 34 degrees for the beaches. And by the afternoon hours, very little improvement. I did press the space bar there to go to the next graphic. It's just that things don't warm up a whole lot for Saturday afternoon. We're already back inside of the mid 30s. That's pretty much where things finish for warming during the day. Now, some spots could get into the 40s briefly, but with the wind out there, it's still going to feel plenty cold no matter what time you're outside. So Mardi Gras on Saturday, Chris, I think it's still a go,
it is.
But not a comfortable one.
Oh.
It's going to be a real cold one out there with the blustery winds, temperatures feeling like the 20s to low 30s. And of course, that's going to be the story all the way through this weekend. That big trough swings through, and Chris is here to tell us about some of the impacts you can expect from that. Of course, we'll be protecting the peas and then kind of putting a few blankets on for Saturday night, going to bed, and you probably just don't want to wake up all day on Sunday.
Yeah, I was talking to Jana at the TDC, just to verify before the show, like, because I hadn't heard anything. Are we still doing this Saturday? And she's like, it's still on. So it will be in the 30s. For fireworks, it will be sub-freezing. So we'll get to see. I think fireworks still look the same, but just in case they don't, like, we'll find out what they look like in sub-freezing temperatures. And you see this cold weather that will begin to continue to move towards the east. Now, while Friday will be not that bad, it's still going to be below average for this time of year. So that's why we're still painted in blue here, because technically it will still be below average, even though it will feel better. Now, we did see some moisture back to the west today across the northern Gulf Coast, more towards Louisiana. This is your next weather maker right here. And then as we move into Friday, we'll see it move to the east. And with it, that's going to bring those few spotty showers that we're going to see on Friday. Not going to be a lot. We're talking hundredths of an inch of rain, but this will be the same weather system that starts to crank up and bring maybe some heavy snow for parts of the south. Now, there are questions, as Dan mentioned, as to does it stay close enough to the coast in the northeast for them to get a lot of snow, or does it really just kind of hit the Carolinas and then skedaddle on out to sea? It's the way it kind of looks right now, but it will be a weather maker for sure. So when we talk about this cold air surging south on Friday, again, temperatures will be 35 to 40 degrees below average in kind of that magenta type color, and we'll see widespread below average temperatures obviously into that blue color. So on Friday, that's the area that will begin to push to the east as we head into Saturday. Now, when we talk about the rain chances, there's not going to be a lot out there, but we'll go like 20 to 30% is going to be about it. And if you see rain, it's going to be a few hundredths of an inch. So kind of what I was talking about when I was doing some of the updates on the channel earlier was that I wouldn't worry about taking the umbrella to school or work or anything like that. And it's not to say that it won't rain. It's just that anything we see will be very, very light, and the nuisance of the umbrella will probably be higher than the nuisance of any rain we might see across our area. So we look across the Panhandle tonight, some clouds. You can see there's a few showers tomorrow morning. As we were talking about that 20 to 30% chance. Front begins to move through, still a couple showers on the backside, but then everything clears out as we head into Sunday. And you see, look at this big storm system as it races off the east coast and up into the north and east. Cold weather plunges in here towards the south. Now, talk about snowfall. Look at this. As we head through the next several days, we're talking about up into the Carolinas and mid-Atlantic from the national blend of models. It takes a whole bunch of models and kind of comes up with the average. And you see, look at some of the Outer Banks there have the potential to see quite a bit of snowfall. But places like Raleigh and Charlotte will probably get at least several inches. So at least exciting news for them. Now, rainfall over the next 7 days, you see there's some green on the map here, and there will be some rain chances later in the forecast. But when we talk about rainfall chances specifically for tomorrow, don't expect to see a whole lot. Again, you see on the map here, 1/100th of an inch, maybe 2/100ths of an inch. That's it. The rest of the rainfall will come from rain chances a little bit later on next week, but even those aren't looking all that great. We don't have any good rainfall in the forecast for the next 7 days. So this weekend, again, Saturday and Sunday, both going to be cold. Technically, Sunday will be a little bit warmer and it won't be as windy. But look at these winds. Sustained winds, 25 to 30. On Sunday, 15 to 20. Now, 15 to 20 sustained winds is pretty windy, you know, for a non-tropical system. 25 to 30 is just unheard of. You could get gusts that high, but we'll see gusts close to 40 miles per hour. So both days, I mean, I don't think you're going to go out on Sunday and be like, this feels great compared to yesterday. I think they're both going to be pretty miserable. Temperatures Saturday morning. Some of us will see a freeze Saturday morning. You'll be more likely to see that freeze towards Pensacola, less likely to see it towards Tallahassee as that cold air comes in. But the important thing is over the course of the day, you see the temperatures don't really warm up a whole lot. And then as we drop through the evening and overnight hours, we start to drop down Sunday morning, getting close to the teens. And then we're talking about low 20s right along the immediate coastline. And this is like the one that kind of steals the headlines. Now, hopefully you're not going outside without clothes, because that's kind of what the feels like temperature is with exposed skin. So if your hands, your face, whatever is exposed, this is what it would feel like. And so that's what the feels like temperature is. And look at the feels like temperatures on Saturday will be in the 20s. Then we drop from the teens into the single digits Sunday morning. So we're talking about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 degrees is what it would feel like on exposed skin if you weren't like covered up in a coat, which again, that's just unbelievable to have that here. Now we have this big trough. Remember at the end of the first block, we have this big trough of low pressure. It moves out and you see there's a little bit of color that tries to come in, but then look, as we head into the end of next week, here comes another trough, knocks down that warm up. So I think we get to the mid 60s some next week, and then we see another cool down by the end of the week. And so you'll see those temperatures again tomorrow, like summer, 60s. Then it's cold for 2 days, and then we start to see a warm up, and then we see another cool down by Thursday into Friday. Now, admittedly, it's not going to be as cold as what it is now, which is good, but it will get cooler, and we still, I guess you could say for the next week and change, average is about as good as we're going to do. We're not going to get above average. Normally you kind of are cold and then you get above average. We're just going to get to average. That's it. You see your low temperatures, teens and 20s. So we'll have at least 1, 2, 3, 4 mornings of freezing temperatures inland, and we'll have 1, 2 to 3 mornings with freezing temperatures at the coast, but one of those will be dangerous from the standpoint of a hard freeze where you need to make sure you take all your people, pets, pipes, plants, okay? So there's your cool weather through February 8th all across North Florida, and that extends out, going out 8 to 14 days, February 6th through 12th, still a high likelihood of below average temperatures across the Panhandle. 7-day forecast. Again, you're not going to find much rainfall. There's some rain chances maybe later next week. That's where that rain chance comes from. But again, the big story this weekend, cold, cold weather Saturday and Sunday. After that, we begin at least a little bit of a slow warm-up. Just wild. Like, unbelievable.
It's hard to do, that's for sure. Carol was asking how many times this month we've said coldest temps so far. That phrase is going to be tossed out for next winter. We're not doing that anymore because just when you think you've seen it all, it just gets colder. So that phrase is completely out of the vernacular for winter 26, 27 and beyond. And then Christy was asking about the snow flurries this weekend. Obviously, we're still kind of watching that down towards Tampa, St. Pete. Chances are they're not zero there. I think there's going to be a lot of excitement and then a lot of disappointment. The line of disappointment will come back probably right along I-75. But for us, I haven't been seeing as much promise. Every single day, the ensemble models, which are, take the current conditions, change them a little bit 50 times, and then see what different outcomes you get.
Yes.
They went from like the start of this week, 14 of the 50 members. So like 28% to now, like, if you're lucky, 1 or 2 ensemble members showing some flurries, which is obviously, a 2 to 4% chance. And at that point, when you're talking about weather on a scale like we are, pretty hyper-local scale, with a 2 to 4% chance, it's pretty much zero.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I hadn't looked at it today because I wasn't as concerned about us. I was curious what the ensembles were saying for down there in Tampa. Yesterday we were like, I don't know, 10%. I think briefly jumped up to 20%. That they could see some flurries. I had folks that live down there that were asking me, and I was like they were asking where to go. And I was like, man, I just stay put. Like, I think, just stay put and hope for the best.
Yeah, you're more likely to miss it trying to find it.
Yes, that's it, because I'm not really convinced you're going to end up seeing it. So, your time is better spent just kind of sitting there.
And the second part of Kirsty, was asked about flights to and from Atlanta. And so if you take, this is just one model run, of course, but if you kind of take a look at how the system sets up, that low tracks like basically almost over our heads before making its trek off towards the Atlantic. So that means there's an opportunity for some snowfall up into North Georgia. I just don't know that it'll be significant, and the timing is on your side too for traveling to and from the Atlanta airport, being you see some of this wraparound snowfall kind of early Saturday morning, and then most of that is going to be real light stuff a dusting possible, but planes can handle that. The only thing that I think you might encounter is a little extra time spent on the ground, because with low clouds and temperatures as cold as they're going to be, you got to go for the full de-icing procedure, and then you got to hope that you get off the ground pretty quickly after that. But it does look like the snow's not going to be a huge problem there. However, flights that we have from ECP, the American flights going up to Charlotte, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more of a problematic synopsis for travel this weekend, particularly the second half of the day on Saturday. Obviously, that is it's almost like talking tropics, Chris. It's kind of track dependent on this low.
Yes.
But there's certainly an opportunity between seeing any snowfall and just how cold it's going to be. And it kind of looks like more of an all snow event. That could be a little longer duration compared to Atlanta. Probably not. Well, I don't want to speak for airlines. Cancellations are a little less likely than delays would be.
Yeah. I would tend to agree. And there's the European ensemble. Chances of snow over 0.1 inches, and you're at 2 to 6 down there in the Tampa area. Now, the interesting thing is just look south of us, out over across the Gulf. Now, as Dan mentioned, it's going to be too rough to get out in the Gulf to do it, but there is an opportunity with that cold air pushing out over the warm waters of the Gulf that you get condensation and could end up seeing, I guess you could say, Gulf effect snow, which I think is probably going to be a little overly used, but I mean, technically, I guess it is.
Yeah, I was getting a little annoyed by that term last night. So I was like, well, you have to have the convergence of the winds at the end of the Gulf, and that's just out in the middle of nowhere, like just because it wants to snow.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice if the winds were 5 miles per hour and you could go out 80 miles south and find it. I just don't know if anybody has the boat for that here. Like, you're going to need a cruise ship to make it through some of the swells that we're going to have out there through the weekend.
Yeah, we're looking at like 10 plus foot seas. There's a gale watch in effect. I mean, like, I just did an update for the channel with the coastal forecast, and like tomorrow's fine. But like, if you're not in port by sunset, things are going to get sideways on you real quick and real dangerous real fast. So, if you really want to get the boat out because it's going to be warmish and whatever, like tomorrow's actually fine, but by after sunset, candy bar the door, it's getting rough.
Yeah, especially the north wind can be so misleading because the coast, obviously, I mean, if you live that stuff, the north wind is usually a little bit of a calmer wind, but then you get off into the open waters and it can be the worst sort of setup for Gulf water conditions. So a lot of interesting stuff happening. Fortunately, a lot of that too will not cause an impact to daily life here in the Panhandle. Things are going to be moving on just fine outside of the real cold mornings that we have coming up Saturday and Sunday. I was trying to think of a sponsor plug we could do. Obviously, you could get your pipe wrapping supplies from Mid-South Lumber.
Yep.
Rogan's Appliance Repair you're going to see here soon. I haven't made a graphic for them yet, but they will be your go-to if you have any appliance issues after pipes burst, if you encounter that sort of situation.
And we have, if you have heating issues, you could call Central Air Conditioning to get you out of that jam. I was going to say, like, not so much the air conditioning part of it is, it's going to be the heating side of it on the heat pump. And that'll be interesting this weekend because, the reason why we have heat pumps here in the South is because it doesn't really get cold enough and they're able to keep up. Whereas like up north, they have furnaces and stuff like that because it gets so much colder. And it'll be interesting because we're going to be so cold this weekend, how people's heat pumps keep up. Or if maybe it's an older one, do they end up having issues and have to call for help? And it's going to be cold, and while Dan's able to sleep in a 60-degree house, most of the rest of us probably not.
I could make it down to 55, I think, before I'll hit the panic button. And I might have to, because my heater has made some ugly noises in the past few nights. So we're hanging on by a thread here.
Well, fingers crossed, and we got plenty of room over here at the Smith house, so just in case. But I appreciate everyone for tuning in tonight. We'll do it again tomorrow night. We'll talk about all the cold weather and see where things stand. Maybe we can find a few flakes somewhere, but right now it doesn't look very likely.
Y'all have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 6.